going to call the 12th meeting of the 14th Undergraduate Senate to order. I'll begin with roll. Senator Flores. Senator Rodriguez. Senator Hayashi. Senator Max Robbins. Senator Newlander. Senator Jenkins. Senator Jacobs. Senator Ossip. Senator Adams. She's here, yeah. Senator Abisakara. Oh, she's out too. Senator Perez. Senator Sellinger. Senator Zitzman. Oh, doesn't exist anymore, you're right. Senator Tercios. Senator Menashe. Senator Giesler. Senator Butler. Senator Luthra. Senator Jacob Robbins.
Present.
Okay, quorum is met. Well, actually, no, it's not. I have to wait for Danya to come back, and Izzy. So they both have to come back before quorum is met. So someone text them.
What is the minimum number?
10.
And we have 9 right now?
Yep. Perfect. Okay. All right, now we're good. All right. Moving to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any current discussion on the agenda? Curtis. What?
About the adoption of the minutes or the adoption of the agenda?
Oh, no, this is just for the agenda. Sean.
I would like to amend the new business section.
Uh-huh.
And move the confirmation of wages to the first confirmation statement that you actually written.
Okay, I heard a second. Further discussion on the agenda? Or Jacob?
I would like to make a motion for new business to add at the top a motion to override the presidential veto bill 1819-004.
Should that be a line item?
Is that be a bill?
No,
No.
it's just a motion.
No, it doesn't be a line. It needs to be a motion.
It's not a line item, just a motion. So make that whenever you please. Other discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, it will be adopted without objection. Moving to adoption of the minutes from the 11th meeting. Discussion on the 11th meeting minutes. Senator Curtis? There is, you don't need to motion to amend it. I can just do that, but I will do that. 11th meeting last week, right? Yes. You're talking about last Senate meeting, not the special meeting. Yeah. Yes, okay. Further discussion on the 11th meeting minutes. Seeing none, they'll be adopted without objection. Moving to the first special meeting minutes of first special meeting of the 14th Undergraduate Senate. Is there any discussion on those meeting minutes? Seeing none, they'll be adopted without objection. Moving to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to reports from officers. First to President Fernandez.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Or good afternoon, sorry. A couple things. So I hope everyone had a restful weekend. So just a couple things. So one, the Sundays and Scholarships panel that my team has been organizing is going to be April 3rd at 7 p.m. I hope to see all of you here. I don't think I've seen any of you at a single President's Cabinet event this entire year. So just remember, advocacy goes beyond a Sunday Senate meeting. So there's that. It's a partnership with the Office of Merit Awards, and we're primarily trying to reach first year and second year students. It's part of a larger conversation around the limits that the office has. So we've also been working behind the scenes with them on created a consolidated form on their website that they actually are going to be making once they update the website over the summer, where peers, faculty, and staff all have the ability to nominate students that have potential to win national merit scholarships, such as Truman, such as the PPIA, et cetera, but just don't meet the early identification program GPA limit, which I think is about top 10% of your class. So it's an opportunity for them to better identify student leaders that have been nominated by people that have won awards before, or by faculty who recognize them in the classroom. Then, as you all have seen, I've been circulating like the Google form for the LaSalle BACA students that are going to be here this week. I'm really excited about that. They have their entire day here is like all booked from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It includes the lunch, which is part of where the community was able to donate meal swipes and are also able to join them during lunch. We received over 150 meal swipe donations, so I think we're more than enough. We really only needed about 50. So I'm excited for that part. And then they're also participating in a student panel of panelists from all across campus that are able to speak to their experiences here. For the student rights cards, Zarem went around campus yesterday and put them up in the temporary card stop version on bulletin boards in CIS, COGAD, Hearst, and SPA. A lot of the other places that they received approval from were closed yesterday, so they're going to try their second stab at it this week. The next thing is I sent this in the AOSG email I sent Saturday, I believe, or Friday. So we're going to be launching Student Government Future Leaders like mini summit tomorrow. Essentially, it's an all-day thing on April 13th, which is a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's going to include both like a high-level overview, like what is SG, how is it structured, how does the budget work, all the way to specific workshops that students can choose to attend, from like Comms 101 versus responsible advocacy versus like navigating university bureaucracy, things like that. Those are the types of sessions, and they're all led by people in student government across all branches. We even have some programmers like that are staff members, not necessarily directors, leading some sessions. So it's a really cool way to like just cross collaborate. And the reason for it is because we've heard from a lot of first year students that like, oh yeah, like I'm kind of interested in getting involved, but like when I joined, there was barely any open positions open at the time, and the ones that were open didn't resonate with me at all. So the goal is that we'll sort of empower some students that didn't have the chance to apply, didn't find their thing, to still have the skill set, and so that they'll kind of have a leg up as they're applying for future cabinet positions that open within new administrations, or at least have more of an expanded skill set should they choose to run for Senate in the next year. Then the last thing is about the bylaws. So first of all, like I was in the bylaws commission, like this isn't like something controversial at all, which is, I would respect if you all waited until I gave my explanation to introduce a motion to override my veto, just out of respect. But essentially I was doing a comparison, page to page comparison with the current bylaws that are on the website. And what I didn't realize was that one of the clauses, and I have it, but I left it in the office. So I guess, Brian, if you're able to act as parliamentarian, fact check me, whatever, was primarily something I didn't realize that was stuck in there was it took away some of the power from J board and gave it to the undergraduate Senate, I believe it was in the final say, and I think personally that's a really big problem because we all know this undergraduate senate is easily swayed by people. Let's just be real, like we all are. And J board is sort of in a unique position where they're sort of seen as the objective, complete body. So I think it doesn't make sense to give the undergraduate senate more power there. Additionally, it was particularly in removing people from office. Additionally, after checking back on the Constitution as well, it just clashed the Constitution. So unless you want to put something up to a referendum, then we have to keep it the way as it is. So that was the reason behind the veto. Nothing sneaky, just like purely objective. And then the last thing, just like a quick thing, and I think I've been making a couple of jabs as I've been talking here. I just want to encourage everyone to think about kindness because I think there's a difference between disagreeing with someone and making a case for it, and then there's a difference between going on social media and making posts. And I've been really disappointed at what I've seen, maybe not from everyone in this body, but from a couple of people sitting here, because just always know there's someone behind the other side of the screen. And if you're using language beyond just the work that you've done, and you're using language as hypocritical, this, and that, like that touches people. And like I've been lucky that hasn't been the case for me because I have pretty big thick skin. But it worries me when I see that type of behavior on social media from a lot of you guys sitting in this room. So that's all I have to say for now.
All right, questions for the president, Bobby?
Yeah, so first, before I get to my question, I just want to say, if anyone is interested in the bylaws commission, just know that I think Val was the most invested member in that. So she did do the work of actually interacting with the ideas. So I appreciate her feedback, even if we disagree. But my question is about this, the idea that the new bylaws draft takes away authority from the judicial board. I guess I don't know exactly how to put it in the form of a question, but under the current bylaws and the status quo, Article 7, Section 2, Subsection 3 gives the Senate the authority to overturn J board actions. So in the new bylaws, it's Article 6, 2, 2, but it's there in both drafts. So I guess the question would be, could you address that?
Yeah. Can I refer to you and
Yeah.
can you check?
Yeah, I can speak to simply what's in the bylaws. The current one allows for Senate to overturn sanctions. The new one allows for overturn of decisions and sanctions. So that would include interpretations of the government documents. Constitution says final authority on the government documents rests with the judicial board.
And I have the exact notes that are there in the office, but that was my problem with
Yeah,
it.
that's pretty much the limit of what I can say on that.
Jacob?
I just wanted to say, Val, that motion's no way meant to disrespect you. I saw that you were presenting, I expected you to go for it. Just to be honest, I'm not familiar with how to make a motion I thought that to be added to the agenda. So I just wanted to say, it's not a disrespect for you, I respect what you do. I think you're doing a great job. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No worries. No worries.
Tanya?
First thing is about the 8th graders. So if you want to have one of them, you can go
You can. If that's your case, why don't you send me an individual email and I can add you to the list, but you should be fine, yeah.
Also, second thing, like regarding the last comment, I was really great to elaborate because I hadn't really kind of really balance this thing lately. I was just wondering if it's possible to elaborate, to elaborate afterwards.
Yeah, I think it'd be unprofessional for me to stand here and list posts or names. But I yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been one specific, it's been people behaving in their own capacities online, which is why I'm saying, like, whether you're acting in your official capacity or not, just remember, like, the concept of kindness applies consistently. you can say, I disagree with this person's work, or I've seen this person not do work, or whatever. But to then say other comments that are based on personal beliefs, sometimes ill-intended, just would raise a red flag for me. And it has been for me, but also just for other people as well. And I've seen other people be hurt on a personal level. So I just want to make sure we're just putting it out there so people are mindful, even if you're not engaging in that.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Moving to Judicial Board Chair Fu.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, especially the nominees, I am the chair of the Judicial Board, kind of similar to the court. I don't like that comparison, but it's kind of the closest thing it is. So I just have a couple things to go over with you. The first thing is I have had a application for inspector, the investigative arm of the judiciary. Hold on. It's my roommate. I know that presents some conflict of interest things. Inspector is not a Senate confirmed thing. They serve at my pleasure and are my appointment. I wanted to bring this before you. If you do have conflict of interest concerns, please let me know and I can reconsider the appointment. The only thing is that it's the only application I've gotten since the application's been open, and Chase is his name. Is very passionate about accountability and things like that. So I think you do a good job. I'm probably biased in saying that. So I can bring him to a Senate meeting. You all can question him and get to know him a little bit after I appoint him. So you can, do that. But yeah, please, let's have a conversation about that. I can see by some of your faces this is a concern, but it hasn't happened yet. I haven't appointed him, so I'm very open to a conversation. To some more interesting things. For those of you who haven't looked at the website, I got an inquiry on the 25th from Joyce DeSurse concerning Mulan. In the gist of it, it was saying that Mulan used his position as associate comptroller to try and get Giselle removed and take her position. I accepted that charge the next day as a formal and binding resolution. There were subpoenas requested, and we issued 3 of them. I did not issue those subpoenas myself, even though I had the power to. J-Board convened and issued them jointly. There were like 5 or 6 requested. We did 3. One for President Fernandez, one for Senator Adams, and one for then Senator Zitzman. The hearing was scheduled. All parties either let me know they could make it or didn't let me know they couldn't. So in my email, I said, please let me know ASAP if you can't make it. Just about everyone told me they could make it. It was April 1st, 7 p.m. Then I got a request from Joyce to dismiss it after a lot of back and forth. I can go into detail about that later, but it's a lot. After a lot of back and forth about logistics and things like that, the request for the dismissal, I got Mulan's consent to do that, and J-Board, in our opinion, thought it was within my power to do that, so I did it. That's that. The matter's put to bed now. We're not dealing with it anymore. Another thing, Iman during the elections notified me that an anonymous student, on the same day I got the Joyce request, notified that a student was concerned about Val's op-ed in the Eagle and whether or not that violated the official powers clauses. I dismissed it because it really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. There were other op-eds about the elections from student government members. The Eagle, and I lack jurisdiction over what the Eagle puts in their publications. I don't have any jurisdiction over that. So, and other students, like if they only offered op-eds to student government members, that might be a little different. But other students write op-eds about things, including elections. So I don't have really any jurisdiction over that. I plan to, and also it's anonymous. I can't adjudicate things from anonymous parties, really. I can adjudicate things from confidential parties, but I need to know that so that I can, if there's a hearing necessary, I can have a second side to it. If there's an informal resolution, I can't have a conversation with just one side. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do it anonymously. My last thing, I'm planning on meeting with the exec-elects soon just to go over their jobs, not in any partial way, but in a way of like, here's what the bylaws, here's what the Constitution says about your job, here's all this stuff. Just so that we're all on the same page about that. I don't want any confusion about that. The other parts of the job will be going over in the transition period with the actual executive and their the elected members. So that will take that effect. Mine is simply governing document stuff. So I think that's it for me. I'm happy to take your questions.
Tanya.
So, can
Mhm.
we what was their reasoning behind having it dismissed?
Mhm.
Since I was also
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
wondering because the email didn't really explain.
Yeah.
Also is there anything that you know about the timing of it?
About the what of it?
Timing.
The timing of it. So, and thank you for reminding me because I did forget about something. And I don't know why I didn't write it down. So the dismissal didn't say why.
Okay.
It just said plaintiff requests dismissal at defendant's consent.
And
That was it.
At J-Board too, you don't have the you have the power to find out why since it was dismissed and it is up to purview with J-Board. You know why it was dismissed?
Well, we could have, but J-Board got together and figured that in the context of things, it made sense. There was so many emails in that period of 2 days, back and forth, and other people had to get involved, people that I won't bring up here, but the dismissal we thought was in the best interest of everybody, so that was kind of the reasoning. Yeah, and you reminded me of something. I had charges brought against me by Joyce on the grounds of a lot of things. I did not accept or dismiss those charges. Obviously, it would have been super biased for me to do that. My vice chair decided that. It was dismissed. Whole host of things. One of them, I'm trying to remember because it was so long. One of them was I was unfairly dismissing things. Like I dismissed things on the basis of lack of jurisdiction and on the anonymity of people who have brought them. The bylaws or the judicial register says I can only dismiss them based on merit, but I think we can all agree if I were to accept charges just based on merit, but I don't have any jurisdiction over it, it doesn't make any sense because I can't hold a hearing, I can't do informal resolution. So I dismiss them because I don't have any right to accept them in the first place. If people have a problem with that, again, I'm happy to have a conversation with that. But everything I do, I can send J-Board on, and they agreed with that interpretation. The other thing that really confused me was, so Joyce brought the charges against me, and Joyce was the one who filed the Mulan thing. Joyce requested the subpoenas, and then in the charges against me said I had issued subpoenas wrongly, but didn't cite why they were wrong. Just cited I had issued subpoenas and they were wrong. So that didn't make any sense to us either. A couple other things I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was I feel like was important for you all to know. That those were brought against me but dismissed ultimately. Yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else.
Who was the 5? Because you said from 5 to 3.
Oh, the other 5, one was for Josh Dantzler. That is also outside of our jurisdiction because Josh is not a student government member. And the other one was for Annalisa Jenkins. But the inquiry didn't say anything about her, so we didn't think it made any sense to issue it. Yeah. And the subpoenas were issued for testimony to be given at the hearing and emails, that's it. Emails and written communications, official student government communications, only to or from AUSG email accounts. We can't subpoena text messages or phone calls or things from private email accounts. It's outside the jurisdiction. Yeah.
Other questions?
Cool. Again, I'm open to a conversation about anything I've said. I'll stay for after the meeting till everyone leaves. That way, you're welcome to come up to me, either alone or we're here, and we can have a conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving to Comptroller-elect Zitzman.
I have this PowerPoint for us.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all blue. Last week was orange, this week is blue. Oh, it's already up. All right. So I think since you're all here, you should have been following the elections, but just in case, I was elected comptroller
I will give updates on that. So first, I am leaving the United States today. Like right after, as soon as I leave this meeting, I'm going to go home and get my bags and go to Dulles. And I've set a hard deadline for myself that I'm not going to stay here past 4 p.m. So if there is something that goes the way I don't want it to go and then I immediately leave, it's not out of spite, it's because I have to go on a plane. So yeah, I'm leaving today, March 31st, to study abroad over the summer, and I will be back on July 31st. So the first thing in that is that since I'm now the comptroller-elect, it's my job to be accessible to everyone in student government and otherwise. And I don't know why, off the top of my head, why you would need to contact the comptroller over the summer as a member of the Undergraduate Senate. But if you do, pretty much if you know my name, you can contact me. You've got my email, Facebook, Skype, Snapchat. I also now have email address Bobby.Sitzman in addition to Robert.Sitzman. So anyway, you get in contact with me, that should be fine. And it's, in addition to being accessible to all of you, it is especially important for me to be in contact with the people who I will be working with when I become comptroller. So this past week, I've been in communication with Ayanna and Ebony in student activities. Now, Ebony, I just told her, hello, I know I'll be working with you, and here's my schedule with studying abroad. But my main contact at student activities has been Ayanna. Before the election actually started, we had a conversation about me potentially running with me studying abroad. And now that the election is over, we are going to have a Skype meeting next week once I get situated in Germany. The same is true of Giselle, where we've had brief conversations before and during the elections, and now that things are in place, we will be having more extensive conversations. And then since the election, in between the few days where the election happened and then I'm leaving, which is today, I've arranged to meet with all the executives elect just to go over, how we will be working together and anything that would be discussed while I was here, since I won't be here to discuss it with them then. I gave them all a memo, and that was nice. So yeah, that's all that. So I'll be leaving and then I'll be back. The next slide is just to let you all know, if any of you are interested in doing work on the executive side, I will be having 3 main positions in my cabinet in addition to anybody more loosely affiliated. So the first is an assistant comptroller for administration, and that position will be equivalent to what Milan has been doing this year, helping me process funding requests through student activities, maintaining records of things, working with clubs to give them financial support from student government. And then there's an assistant comptroller for advocacy, who will be working on affordability advocacy with me. And finally, an assistant comptroller for research, which I am excited about. We'll be overseeing a small team that I will work with to compile a great deal of white paper type research about AU's spending and financial policies and affordability, college affordability more generally. So we can compile all this information and have it well researched for next year, which is a budget year, for when student government and other students go to the administration and the board of trustees, that they can be more prepared than anyone ever has been to advance the message of affordability. And that is inspired by the Senate's report last year on affordability, which Serem used to great effect this year in budget discussions. So we're expanding on that. So those are all my positions. If any of you are interested in that, there should be applications going up soon on the student government website. And in addition to that, you can just contact me directly, and you will go through the same process as you would if you were applying on the website. But in addition to that, on the next slide, if you don't want to join my cabinet, I would encourage everyone, or someone else's cabinet, or do whatever else. If you don't want to do any of that, I encourage everyone to stay in the Senate if you thought about it. Because first of all, there is still your term left after the end of the semester. People often don't think about that, like they treat it as an academic year thing, but you will come back in the fall, and your term will end sometime in October, November, or December. So that's important. The Senate really doesn't normally do a lot in the fall, and that's because everybody falls off the face of the earth. So yeah, please come back in the fall. And then if it so suits you, I would encourage everyone to run for re-election to the Senate, because it's really helpful to have a couple of people who have been in the Senate before, because most of the time it's an overwhelming majority of new members and it can help new executives and new senators, get in place if there are some returning members of the Senate. And in addition to that, to it being helpful, you're pretty much guaranteed to win because unless you're running in the campus at large race or the freshman class race, the rest of them are essentially uncontested. So you should be just fine. That is the last slide, but I will say a little bit about the bylaws commission. I think the change from decisions and sanctions that the Senate can overturn from just sanctions previously, that is a substantive change that I didn't realize the degree of earlier before Brian explained it, that it has to do with the J-board interpretations. So if that is something that you're concerned about, I recognize that. I would still say that there are a lot of other valuable things that are in these new draft bylaws that would be lost if they were all vetoed, including some things that I think will help the executives next year. I think from my perspective, going into an executive position, that is what I'm most concerned about, the changes to those roles. So what I would say is if we consider a veto override today, I have the language of a bill drafted, I just did it in the past couple minutes, to remove the decisions or from the bylaws. So right now it says decisions or sanctions, and that is the problem. That was the reasoning for the veto, where previously it just said sanctions. So if you are concerned about that too, what we can do, preserving the valuable parts of the new draft bylaws and addressing this concern about the J-board, is override the veto, and then the whole draft bylaws go back. And then immediately afterward, you guys can pass the bill to amend the bylaws and take out decisions or, so then it just goes back exactly to the language that was in the previous bylaws. So that's everything I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Trevor,
Yes.
Daniel left, she was quorum.
I think we have.
Yeah, no, we're good. And Izzy's back here too. Yeah, so we're still good. All right, moving to some things from me. So, as you hopefully saw, we finally got the legislative agenda sort of out there and published on like the Instagram, and it's on the website, things like that. So be sure to tell people about it, tell them about the work that you're doing, elaborate on your specific committee goals, because I know like we only put 2 per committee, but I'm sure that committees have a lot more than just 2, so feel free to expand upon that. And let's see, so I guess there really isn't much right now. I would just inform everyone that like over the next month, be aware that we're moving into the budget process. So that's going to be a lot of the work that's going on, and also the all the new executives elect will be putting up their confirmations for directors or cabinet positions, things like that. So be prepared for those processes. And then, yeah, I think that's really it actually at this point. As you can see, there's a couple confirmations up for new Senate seats, and so we'll be doing that. And then I mentioned this in CRP because it was brought up, so I'll mention it now again. So since I'm graduating at the end of the semester, we will be holding speaker elections on April 28th, which is right now officially the last meeting or the normal meeting of the undergraduate Senate. There will probably be another meeting after that to consider the budget bills. But so if you're interested in running for that position, please, reach out to me so we can talk about, the responsibilities, the duties, the time commitments, all of that. I'm currently working on transition documents to help whoever does assume the role next. It's been a while since there's been a change in speaker, so I know it's people aren't like this isn't a position that people have been like really focused on. So if you are interested, reach out and prepare for that a day, and then it's still up in the air on when the actual transition would occur. Probably as soon as the last meeting ends, then the new speaker will assume the role. But there will still be the summer break, so like you'll have time to just like you won't have to like be thrown into everything real quick, and just prepare for the fall semester. So yeah, definitely reach out. We can talk about it, all the expectations and things like that. So I think, yeah, that's all. Those are all the reports that I have. So move on.
Question. For April 28th, is that the deadline that you're gonna be giving us new executives when we should have our, like, nominees for? So technically, that's like the last Senate meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You executives have been granted technically an extension in this time frame because the elections occurred earlier. So yeah, you should have those in by the 28th. Curtis?
Yes, thank you for finalizing the legislative agenda for the 14th undergraduates. I was just wondering, if you're going to also email that out to the student body, like you did as speaker of the 13th undergraduate.
Yeah, so I'm working with Alex on that. We're trying to see what the best avenue for that is, whether it is a full campus email or is it just putting it on social media. We're trying to weigh the options, and based on like the other emails that Alex has to send out for student government, seeing if there's a possibility to put that in. So I'm currently working on that. Other questions? All right. Moving to reports from committees. From CRP, I didn't put it on there specifically, but CRP met earlier. All 3 confirmations were recommended to full Senate. And then we also elected Jacob as the new vice chair, which now he will serve as the speaker pro temp. And the legislation that's currently in CRP has also been extended for another meeting. So that's everything from CRP. Are there other committee reports? Curtis?
Oh, yes. So the Committee on Campus and Student Life met on March 27th at 1 p.m. in the Senate office. We discussed the resolution to recognize AU Dining's TR Exam and Stress Busters initiative. We also discussed the first part of our legislative agenda goal, which is to make a break with bread. AU Student Government Edition. I'll be meeting with Nana Han of the Office of Finance and Treasurer to discuss on how we can make that a reality. And also we provided some updates about AU Dining and how the meal plan options for the 2019-2020 school year will change.
Jacob?
Yeah, so the finance committee, just a few updates on that. Tomorrow I'll be meeting with Ayana, and she'll be giving kind of an overview of what the budgetary process looks like. Because I've never done it before. I'm a little nervous. I said that. I'm nervous, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Got some good people I can rely on here. I sent out to the membership of our committee a doodle poll. Why I'm saying this to everybody in this body right now is if you are interested in proxying at a committee meeting, let me know, and I can see what we can do in terms of like getting you in that room if somebody can make it. I know there's been a lot of interest in being involved in that process. So if you're interested in proxying, reach out to me, let me know, we can see what we can do. And outside of that, I'm really excited, really thrilled that we're in this process. It's a long process, it's a hard process, but it's a process that has to be done.
All right. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move to new business. First to our confirmation for Senator of the campus at large. Lucas, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Lucas Morial. I'm a sophomore studying political science, minoring in finance. I apologize to the people that already heard this, but some people came for the second meeting, so I'm going to reintroduce myself. The other activities that I'm involved with here on campus, I'm currently pledging the business fraternity. I'm also involved with staffing Model UN. But my major time commitment this semester has been pledging the business fraternity, but that time commitment will go down after this semester once if I become a member of the fraternity. I'll just have like weekly meetings, so that'll be less of a time commitment. And now I want to move into my motivations as to why I want to join the Senate. I've heard that there's a need to fill lots of different positions within student government, so I thought it would be good if I could step up and serve my fellow students. One of the main issues I'm concerned with is dining issues and making sure students have equal access to good dining options and just that like their concerns are being heard. And I saw a lot of that by student government this earlier in this winter, and that really inspired me to get involved because I saw they could make a difference. And they had a lot of support from the student body, myself included. Also, I just want to improve other student activities on campus and also just like students having more fun things to do on campus and fun events. I know RHA does a lot of stuff like that, but I think AUSG could also have stuff of their own that could meet students' needs. I don't know if I said everything I said the first time, but I'll take your questions now if you have any.
Questions for the nominee? Sean?
Could you just elaborate on your interest in the back issues, how you did it in CRP, just for the full Senate?
Well, actually, I think it was in February. I filled in for Wayne by a proxy, and that was the meeting when we like really discussed it with the I think it was like an increase of $2,000 that they wanted to do for the mandatory meal plan for sophomores, and I just really saw that as like unfreedom for students that don't want that and are going to be forced into that, and I could really see like how that can create like a lot of anger and backlash from students. I mean, obviously, like for financial reasons, that's really difficult for a lot of people to meet, but also even if students could afford that, just like that they're being forced into doing something they don't want to pay for, I really like sympathize with that.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Curtis?
Lucas really wants to change AU dining for better on this campus, and I think that he'll be committed to making dining on our campus much better than it currently is.
Further discussion? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of confirming Lucas to be senator for the campus at large, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. You can share the ayes have it, and you confirm.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
I motion that we overturn the presidential veto bill 1819.
Okay, there's a motion to override the presidential veto of Bill 1819-005? 004, yeah. Is there a second to consider this motion? Hearing a second. We will. Let's see. How should we go about doing this? Let's.
Mr. Speaker, can I move to extend the rules to, allow you to direct debate on this?
Direct. Wait.
So
Suspend.
like you can manage debate, because I don't know if there are any rules for it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Without objection, let's consider this in a very similar, in the same parliamentary procedure that we would of a resolution or a bill. So I will allow the sponsor of the motion to make their opening argument, and then we'll move right into discussion on this and then decide from there. Is there any objection to that? Okay. Jacob?
So a couple of things. I first want to say I know Valentina is not here. I don't take this motion lightly. I respect the powers of the president, and I also believe that why the bylaws were vetoed is absolutely legitimate. There has been proposed, and what was sent to all of you in Facebook was a link to the bill that would change the wording to fix the concerns that I would, after this, if it was voted on, that we override the veto, that we would include that, or motion that we include that piece of legislation. What I would like to say is last week we had a very spirited debate on certain things related to the bylaws. I don't want to say that debate should ever end, because I think it's important for us to keep talking, but by the same token, last week we voted to change the bylaws, and right now what we're talking about is overriding of a veto for one specific reason, and that reason I believe can be fixed with the bill that's been sent to you today. And so while I understand that there are some other potential concerns that we talked about last week, I believe that that's already been discussed and adjudicated. If we want to spend time on that, I want to make sure though that it's in respect to the other nominees who are here today, talking about some of the other concerns. But I think that right now, when I'm thinking about overriding this veto is it's for this specific reason that can be fixed, that we already have a solution for. So that's what I have to say about that. I look forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Sean?
So, just a question for the sponsor. So with respect to Valentina's argument that there was a contradiction between the bylaws and the Constitution, this overriding of the veto and the bill that was included with it was satisfied that contradiction, correct?
Yes, because the bill, which I sent in Facebook Messenger, if you don't have access to it, I can send it to you. The bill changes the wording to say, to just take out decisions, and it just puts in any sanctions, just like it was in the old one, so we revert back. Because the thinking is, right, that all the work that's been done on the bylaws committee by you and Senator Adams and other people, right, was really important. And to just veto all of the sort of really important good changes, we lose a lot of those good changes, right? So this is just a really quick workaround.
Yeah, I would just add on to that, to say again, there's a lot of important things in the bylaws, and we don't need to lose all of it over the two words decisions, or especially since we have a bill that can be put on the floor today to take out those two words, but only if you override veto. And what those important things are in brief, I think the most important thing is the new system we have for setting rules and expectations for all of our officials through policy books instead of exclusively through the bylaws. I know one of the reasons that we started this commission was to clarify the rules and expectations for the comptroller. And as comptroller-elect, this is how I've been planning to how to modify the role to bring it up to speed with current modern expectations rather than from years ago when the current bylaws were written. I had a meeting with Mulan the other day where he said he would like to implement some new expectations for his vice presidential team. So I can't speak for him, but one way that could be done is through a policy book where the people who administer the policy would be writing it. So I think that's important, and I hope we don't lose it. And then the second thing I had is that the main objection last week when we discussed this, that might come up again today, is the idea that if we're adding an experience qualification for vice president, we should add it to the other executives. So I will say, if you want experience qualifications for the other executives, you should vote to override this veto and put these new bylaws in place. Because if we just snap back to the status quo, no executives have experience requirements, and that whole conversation is undone. Whereas if we reinstate these new draft bylaws, we've got it accomplished for the vice president. And then you can work, you have a full year, 12 months until the next executive election to figure out what would be the best qualification experience requirements for the other executives. And I can work on that with you if you want. But the whole thing, all the valuable things aren't done if you let the veto stand. And if you're concerned about the J-Boy thing, you can vote on that bill to take out those two important words today.
All right. Any questions regarding the motion? Great. Okay. So we'll move right into discussion on whether or not to override the veto.
Whoops.
Further discussion. Jacob?
I would just like to say again, for the record, I don't take overriding a presidential veto lightly. I think it is a big decision. It's a big task that we're now undertaking. I do think though that the reasons that were laid out to us as to why the veto happened can be easily fixed. And they can be fixed today without us having to reintroduce all of the bylaws again and go through that whole same process again. We can override the veto today. We have a compromise bill that I sent to Trevor that is in the Facebook Messenger. If anybody didn't get that, you can let me know and I can send it to you individually. I think that is where we're at. I think we should be really considering whether or not this is a good idea. I think it is a good idea right now.
Bobby?
And I just spoke, so I won't go through my whole spiel again, but I would encourage all of you to speak because what happens a lot of times is that people are not quite satisfied with something that the Senate does, but they don't say anything. So then the bill, or whatever we're talking about, just kind of passes without having it the way people want. So if you have an opinion about this that you would like to share, that is your job. So just whatever you have to say, don't feel constrained to say it.
Milan?
Might be feel like how right now? Where am I?
Well, you still have speaking rights as associate. Yeah.
Well, speaking of VP like right now, I just want to know, in terms of the conversation around the bylaws commission, why there was a conversation with the VP being someone that needs to have programming experience, whatever that looks like, and it wasn't a conversation revolving around other executives also having to sit. Because I think if you put the VP role of saying you need to have SG programming experience, and you need to say to the comptroller they need to be able to program major have finance experience. Or for the secretary, you need to say that they have to have communications experience. So why was it just in the bylaws right now? It just says the VP needs to have this, but it doesn't say so for the executives. And why is it? I don't know if what you were saying, Bobby. That let's wait 12 months until next year's new e-board, and then have a conversation about adding in new executives that would then have expectations. I know it didn't affect me because I ran, as someone that didn't have SG programming experience in the past 2 VPs, but I have had outside AU experience in programming. But I just want to know, I don't want it to feel like it's something that's discouraging students next year when they run. That because I haven't been in SG programming before, which is very rare to get into anyway, I can't run for this because I might not win with the focus.
Was that a question for me?
Just a question, just in general, for the people that are on the bylaws commission. Is this with the potential veto? Would it include other executives also having stipulations to get into them, or just going to stay with the
Bobby?
Yeah. So first, 2 slight premise corrections. First of all, in the draft bylaws that we're considering today, you don't need SG programming experience. You can, if you are on an SG programming board, that counts, but you can also have experience for programming in another capacity, and that's in the bylaws. And second, to clarify what I said, if I wasn't clear enough, I'm not saying when I mentioned 12 months, I'm not saying, put it off 12 months from now. I'm saying you have 12 months to work on it. So I encourage everyone to utilize it to the full extent. But to answer the main content of your questions, there was a brief consideration for how to have experience qualifications for the other positions. The main reasons, I think, are 3 that we didn't, or maybe 2, that we didn't include them right at that time is that, there's 2 of them. Number 1, we weren't sure exactly what kind of qualifications would be appropriate for the other executives, and that's something that if people want to have those qualification requirements, I encourage that conversation to happen. And second, that the vice president, the commission felt, had a different level of technical prowess that was required to do the job well. But again, if everyone is under the opinion, or just you individually, whoever you are under the opinion that there should be experience qualifications for all of the positions, which I think is a legitimate idea, then you should not let this veto stand, because then the whole conversation gets tossed out the window instead of starting with the vice president and working over the next period of time to include that for the other executives as well.
Jacob?
Yeah, I just also would like to add on to that, Mulan. As somebody who, when this was presented, was very skeptical of it and was concerned about it, and then through debate and talking about it, understanding why it was added and everything, a couple of questions that I had asked myself, before, like when I had read this, was, would any of the current people who are running for vice president, would they be excluded? And I said no, because I had figured that you had either had SG programming experience or that you had had equivalent experience. And the thing that we really discussed a lot of was that wording of equivalent experience. Obviously, we don't want to add unreasonable barriers of entry to e-board positions. Although the consensus seemed to be, and it's my personal feeling, that when you're dealing with a lot of money, in particular, when there's a sort of feeling that AUSG is predominantly a programming board that has some programs, that has some sort of services that it provides, that having some kind of experience is good and is applicable. And I believe we also did talk about considering other requirements for e-board as well. And so we didn't look at this as sort of like this is the only time we'll ever discuss having e-board experience requirements. If anything, I think it was looked upon as like this is a great way to kind of start that conversation. So I think that helps you.
Milan?
My next question is, who would determine, like I know when students run for executive positions, you have to have a 45 credit limit, and there's like a bunch of things, the GPA, all that stuff in order to run. So I think specifically for people that will run for VP next year, who would be the deciding factor in determining if someone was qualified to run with that student activities, or would that be like student activities? Oh, that's fine. I kind of trust their judgment.
Other questions or discussion on the override?
I also have thoughts.
John?
I would support the override of the veto, only because it does address the issue that was brought up, which hasn't been addressed. Had it just been just a separate override of the veto without addressing that and then allowing the bylaws to go into effect, given that we are aware that there's a constitutional contradiction, that I wouldn't support something like that. But because there's a provision of this specific bill that addresses the primary issue of that, while also including the necessary changes that were made by the bylaws, I would support that.
Just as a point of order, so everyone is aware, what the process would be is first pass the override and then pass the bill to address Valentina's concerns. And those, you do those in two separate actions.
Further discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I would also support overriding the veto. I think our discussion last week was very productive and working through the requirements for VP and some of the changes stuff and a lot of other things. I personally would think that breaking down policy books, I think that's a really great and effective way to organize all the different kinds of legislation and rules that SG has. I agree that definitely letting the veto stand as it is would be pretty detrimental to the organization's government. I think that we can improve upon qualifications for office procedure or looking at that wording with Jacob later on. But yeah, I think overriding vetoes are all best.
Parker?
This is just like a process question. Why do we have to override the veto? Why can't we just pass a veto with the alteration?
Well, you could do that. It would just take a longer time. And as the person who is organizing organizing this. I prefer it to be done this way because I have to head out in 55 minutes. But you have the option to do that. But if your only concern is the judicial board question, there are other concerns. But if your concern is that one, that can't be done today. And it will be faster to do it override on the bill if you wait first reading.
Further discussion? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote. This, yes,
Just plan of order. This requires 2/3, correct?
requires a 2/3, yes. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes,
Is that a 2/3 of the people here, 2/3 of the?
2/3 of people voting. Yeah. All right. Cool. So all those in favor of overriding President Fernandez's veto on Bill 1819-004 say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. In opinion of the chair, the yeas have it. 2/3 is met, and the override is official. Veto is nulled. Whatever the official wording is for that. Cool. Okay. So now,
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
I would like to make a motion that we add to the agenda the bill that I just sent you, Bill 1819-005, but that we do that after D in respect to the other nominees that we have here today.
Okay. Well, I think regardless, I mean, they would be sworn. I mean, they not even sworn. They would be part of the voting block.
Second.
But yeah. Okay, and I hear a second discussion on this. All those in favor of adding this bill to new business say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Finish sure the yeas have it. What's this called? Board compromise. Okay. Okay, so we will move to confirmation of Madison Morrow to be senator for the class of 2019.
Three people just laughed. There's no way they support it. My heart hurts too.
Okay. Okay, we'll move to the next confirmation. Maddie, the floor is yours.
Hi. This is Madison. It's very obvious, but so I want to be your senator for the class of 2019. Just as a caveat, though, I will be here next year, so I will transition if I continue to be a senator for the class of 2020, just credit-wise. I guess we figured it out in CRP that I am class of 2019 as opposed to class of 2020. So I just want to talk about myself really briefly, and then my experiences and what I really want to do. I am a junior, double majoring in economics and international studies, focused on international development, that side of it. I was a senator for the class of 2019 last year, so I had to resign because I went abroad. And then when I came back, I didn't really have any policy points or anything that I really wanted to advocate for, so I didn't feel it was fair to run. But as of now, I really want to focus on student worker rights and just kind of facilitating dialogue about sexual violence on campus, just because I think the participation rates in that conversation have been kind of falling. I recently was talking with I don't know her title, I don't know if anyone knows Tracy, she's the vice president of the campus life, and she is the chair of the sexual assault working group, and so she was really she really wants to re-engage students, and I thought that joining Senate and kind of having that conversation in this context as well as in the context of the general student body would be something that would be really, really great to do. And so that's pretty much it. I'd rather have a discussion, so if anyone has any conversations or any questions, I would love to hear them. So.
Questions for the nominee? Sean?
Hi, so could you just elaborate on your past experience superintendent, what you like from that, and how you think back to the 5%, like what you like from that, and how
Yeah, sure. So when I was a senator last year, I was the vice chair on the committee for environmental sustainability. I was on the finance committee as well. When I first got involved, I again didn't really have any very specific points that I wanted to focus on. I just knew that I wanted to get involved just because I think there's a lot of sometimes disillusionment with the process that is student government, and I really wanted to learn it as opposed to just muttering under my breath and walking away and not getting involved. So I thought that was something that was is why I did that. And I think just kind of understanding what the process is, kind of understanding that everybody in Senate really cares about, AU and the general student body. And I think that's something that was really great, and really having the collaboration skills and working on that, and really, again, listening and having conversations about what we think should be done, not only as senators or between senators, but also from senators to or student to student. I think that's something that was really great, and that was a really valuable experience being a senator last year. So,
Other questions? Curtis?
So what's one thing you would like AUSG to do in regards with student workers' rights,
Mhm.
and what's one thing that you would like to see AU do when it comes to that?
yeah, so I think student workers often kind of fall by the wayside. Like, for example, if you talk to someone over at the Rec and Fit, like, they don't get the same training. Student workers don't get the same trainings as, for example, full-time staff members in terms of like how to, I guess, respond to hostile work environments, harassment and things. And so I think that that's something that's really, I would like to work on that, because I think we don't really have, and I've been a student worker here on a youth campus, and I felt uncomfortable just because I think people really, if you're having student-to-student engagement or interactions, they kind of assume that that is just not really a work environment type thing. For example, if you have a grad student that's above you, that's something you're not trained with or how to respond to if they are creating a hostile work environment. I think that's something that I would like to see happen, and I think for Senate, I would like to see just kind of first getting information, because I think there's not even really a conversation that's happening. For example, like, I don't know if the Palmer survey is coming out. I don't know if that really, when I was talking to Tracy, she talked about how, for example, like they are seeing where people have experienced, sexual violence and harassment and things of that sort. And I would really like to see or access that data and really see if student workers are disproportionately, because I think they're a more vulnerable segment of the population because they're working. They have to work. For instance, for me, like I wanted to quit, I couldn't. So that's something that I think that we can really just have that conversation, start meeting with people in the administration. Because when I talked to Tracy, she wasn't necessarily aware of certain things or kind of what the general consensus or attitude of the student body was. For example, for resources for people who go abroad and things like that. This isn't specific to student workers, but I think that that's something that I would really love to advocate for and have, and I think that Senate can be a good starting point for having that conversation, and having a continuous one, because I'm graduating next year, and I would like that to continue and really have or consolidate, I guess the advocacy and passion of other people to have that keep driving it. So that's one.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Jacob?
I remember when I was first appointed to Senate, Madison was, I believe, the senator at the time. She's always done really good work. I think the idea is that she has a really important and fresh and good for us to undertake, well within our scope, well within our body, and I will be voting for her confirmation, and I hope that everybody else will as well.
Milan?
So I worked with Madison last year when I was vice chair of the Special Committee on Finance. And one thing I think I love about her is that she's very super critical about student government, and she likes to push the mold of, how far can we go as student leaders, how far can we actually support students and actually do quality work. And I think she did that when we were working on the budget last year and actually, advocating for women's initiatives to get more money. Because a year before, 5 years ago, women's initiative had, their money was decreasing, and that was one thing that she was passionate about when she was on But, I love when we have student leaders and people that aren't usually in the realm of student government, but are able to provide that outside perspective as being a student. And I think, her being passionate about student rights, her being passionate about sexual assault victims as well, is something that, would be great for Senate to take on, because we haven't had much conversation there.
Curtis?
I'm really impressed that Madison actually took the time and initiative to talk with the Assistant Vice President of Tennis Life, Dr. Tracy Calandrillo. And I really appreciate that Madison is willing to come back to a body and really put in the time and effort to essentially finish out her AU, career here and to leave a legacy that, that makes student life here better for the next generations of AU students.
Other discussion? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of confirming Madison Moore to be senator for the class of 2019, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. In the chair, the yeas have it, and she is confirmed. All right, now that the bylaws are in place, and with the change in processes, you are now part of the role, and you're automatically, you have speaking rights. You can start voting, partaking in discussion, all that good jazz. Okay. Moving to the confirmation of Seth Christopher to be senator for the campus at large. The floor is now yours.
All right, hello everyone. With the other two candidates, I also said this already, so I'm trying to make it clear for you guys. So my name is Seth Alexander Christopher. I'm from Connecticut. I'm 19 years old, flag major. I ran for the student body senate this fall. I came 16 votes, or 0.9% away from getting my seat, so pretty close to making it there. But since then, I've been looking for a way to get involved with student government. I was looking at possibly joining the executive branch under one of the new members' cabinet positions, or different ways to get involved. But I really want to stick with the Senate because I believe there's a massive amount of opportunity we can do here as senators. Like I was talking to some other members of the Senate currently, a lot of it is like what you make of it, and I really like that idea. So I really want to get involved. Basically, the main issues I'm looking at are improving the relationship between AUSG and the student body. Now, this includes establishing mutual trust and cooperation between both bodies, which I think there's a lot of ways we can improve on that. To that point, I spoke that there's also a lot of work that I think the undergrad Senate does specifically that doesn't always get translated to the student body. And I think that's another massive issue of things we can do to improve in that area. Besides that, my issue number 2 is I want to find innovative and entrepreneurial ways to significantly raise the AUSG budget without necessarily directly affecting student tuition. So I mentioned an idea of possibly working with a think tank of COGOT students, COGOT professors, working with other students on campus who are business savvy, and trying to find different ways we can do different programs, fundraisers, and other events that I'm sure that these think tank members will know more about, where we can raise the revenue and make positive change on campus without, again, dipping into the tuition raising of the students. And number 3, to improve the representation of students on campus and the general democratic practice and process of student government by working to get tangible policy changing power for the undergrad Senate and AUSG in whole. Now, I know that last one's like a big long-term goal, but again, as I spoke to you before, I'm interested in serving for all 4 years that I have here, as much as I can, as much as I'm willing to be served by the student body. So I'm looking forward to do that in the long run. Besides that, I know that all of these challenges and all the other challenges we have is going to be only best quality solutions. So I'm dedicated to working with all the senators here who have more information about the proceedings and the details and the nuances of the Senate, get myself up to date, and work in whichever area we need most work on first. So with that, open any questions.
Questions for the nominee? Katie?
So I really like the idea of fundraising to bring in revenue. And I was just wondering if there is a specific reason why you want to increase student government funds versus supplement what we're already getting, like instead of, using all of student tuition for our funds, kind of replacing a portion of that with fundraising.
So the first point for the whole issue of finances in general is I'm not educated on all the nuances of it, especially the nuances of it within the undergrad senate. So my first point would be to refresh myself on that and learn all the information. So there's definitely a huge possibility that besides it just raising revenue, there could be a possibility of supplementing this increased revenue with tuition students are paying, especially for those students who are in financial aid and already need other assistance. And this increase in the tuition cost is just an additional burden to them. Besides that, I don't have any individual specific examples of ideas to fundraise. That's the whole idea of why I want to get this COGOD think tank going. Because as great as it is that we're all here serving on the student body senate, I do think there is opportunity to tap into the business side of our school. I met with the new dean of COGOD, who used to be the former CEO of the Washington Trade Organization, and he said he was definitely open to having that discussion and making this think tank and getting some ideas out there. So we'll see in the future, what possible stuff we got.
Other questions? Parker?
We talked a bit about improving AOHG's image on the student body. What are some ideas you have to do that? As you said, it's a long-term goal. It's something that's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
In fact, it sometimes gets a lot worse. So what are some ideas that you have to do?
So yeah, I know this is like a platform issue that a lot of people run on when they're running for this seat anyway. So there are some actual things I want to see done here. The first one is really improve the relation that the Senate and the Undergraduate Senate has with these other municipalities on campus, the class council, and these like small, even RNJ, for example, these like smaller, more concentrated student representative bodies. I feel like, again, like I said, translating what we do to the students and really getting their impact and insight on the whole process, I feel like is important. And not just necessarily transparency on what we do, but again, recognizing what we do and really informing them of the day-to-day process. Again, now I'm not a member yet of the Undergraduate Senate, so I don't know what efforts we're really putting out as a body to achieve that. But again, as a freshman who isn't part of the Senate, I also can see from the outside perspective, the amount of information coming in to someone in the dorm halls freshman year, and the amount of information we get on the day-to-day impact of student government, which even as some recent op-eds in the Eagle can show, the student body doesn't really even have that much faith right now on the outside of that massive change that is being made. And again, I can definitely see that individual senators here, definitely individual people in our student government in its entirety, definitely want to make positive change on campus. They're really passionate about it and they truly believe in it. So I really want to, again, translate that to the student body and make sure it's heard.
Other questions? Milan?
I've been in student government for the past 2 years now, and I was a senator last year. And I know with the undergraduate senate body, sometimes the relationship that senators have with executives, especially new executives that are coming into the position, often there seems to sometimes be a disconnect, or sometimes executives will think that senators might not know what they're doing or might be too critical of their job or whatnot. So I'm wondering if you are to be confirmed by this body here, how would you be working with new executives in this role, in still being true to students who now have elected you to the position, appointed you to the position, but then also being critical of, and holding student government executives accountable.
Well, first of all, on that first point, I do think that ties back into my first point of establishing the trust between the student body and student government. Now, the first of that would obviously be establishing trust between the executive branch and the legislative branch, which, again, because I'm not a member yet and I don't have that inside perspective, I don't know the nuances and the details of that friction that comes in. But I do have something to offer as someone who's being appointed and not elected to help bridge that liaison between the two different branches. Off of that, again, we have 4 new people coming in, and that's going to, they're fresh faces. I don't know the nuances of any current relationships they have with the Senate or any previous standing there, but I do know there's definitely a huge opportunity we have here to really go into next year and finish this year with a strong unified approach to student government in general. And I think we will see obviously tons of positive benefits translate from that, working together from that partnership.
Curtis?
Seth, as you may know, the dining experience at AU consists of AU dining and independently operated dining. And I know during your campaign for the senator for the class of 2022 CU dining hall, you advocated for, bringing back dining dollars to the independently operated vendors. Now that's not an issue anymore. So when it comes to dining, what will you do as a senator for the campus at large to improve
residing in the city. Well, the dining issue at American University obviously is like one of the most forefront issues that students are talking about right now. I think there's also a huge opportunity we have here as the undergrad senate, as AUSG in general. If we can manage to find a way to tackle it and really show that all this thing that a lot of students have issues with is being handled and addressed by AUSG, I think that'll get to our first few points about building and repairing that bond and connection that the general student body has with AUSG. I think again, like I said, it's a real opportunity to make some meaningful accomplishments. Now, off of there getting into specifics, I know that there's obviously a lot of different places we can talk about where students have, once we conduct some more polls, get some more information about exactly the priorities of issues in dining, what they want to see. Like you mentioned last time, it was really getting these Eagle Bucks and dining dollars back to these service providers. Now that that's taken care of, that's no longer an issue. There's other different things that I think we can get more into the nuances. Because again, as first someone from the outside, my perspective is I'm not always sure about like the details of exactly one policy change to another. Really translating that and getting that vocalized. Like we are seeing some of that now. Again, this translation, this advocacy of what AUSG is doing. I think that'll make a lot of meaningful repairs in again the relations we have to the student body. And from there, I think then we can work more directly on improving the dining situation.
Sean?
So I know at CRP you mentioned that you have a desire to join the Committee on Student Rights and Services. Personally, I'm flattered, it's not my committee, but I wanted to know what specific issues did you want to address should you be assigned to that committee?
So like I said at the beginning, this is one of my most long-term goals, and it's a goal I've had since I entered American University and found out this wasn't the case, is really getting tangible, real policy-changing power for AUSG, specifically the undergrad senate. Now, I know that we can vote on resolutions, and we have certain limited ability to change policy, but I really want to start, having a role concretely in these different boards that decide some of the major issues on campus. Not only is this an issue for student representation and student rights, but I just think it's in general promoting democratic ideals. And I think that's what this body stands for, what AUSG should stand for in general. So again, I know it's a long-term goal, and I know there's a lot of work we're going to have to do over this 4 years to accomplish this, but I think there's a lot of different opportunities. And like I said in my opening statement, it's incrementally. So I know there's not like I'm not like looking idealistically to a broad, immediate input for AUSG in these policy-making decisions. But I believe over the course of 4 years, there's some work that I can do along with the other senators to start on this process to really make AUSG a tool for change.
Timing for questioning has elapsed. Parker? By 2 minutes. Is there a second? I hear a second. All those in favor of extending by 2 minutes say yay. All those opposed say nay. The opinion share the yeas have it. 2 minutes extension. Parker?
What are some outside activities that you brought that you participated between since you came here last fall and right now? And then also, would you commit to staying in the Senate for the full day?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. Not only do I intend to complete my term as senator, my goal is to serve as senator for as long as I can here at American University. That includes all 4 years. Back to the first question, other activities I've done since then. Are you referring to like specifically in terms of student governance and student representation, or just in general? That's my other time commitment, is I currently have an internship at Capitol Hill that takes up 2 days a week. But because I plan on doing most of the stuff at AUSG, in the spare time that I can fit in anyways, that won't be an issue. Besides that, other time commitments, I've gotten involved with the protest to lower the student tuition increase. That was a good thing to kind of like learn and hear about the ideas that students have on a first-hand basis and get some feedback from the board of trustees on that. Besides that, I've been working, along with some other students with the individual projects they're doing including the dorm halls. But pretty much, again, the reason why I'm here to join the undergrad senate in the first place is because I really want to, start on this official work, really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and start making some impact and change with this position. So that's pretty much why I'm here.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Sean?
So I noticed
would certainly vote for it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of confirming Seth to be senator for the campus at large, say yay. All those opposed say nay. Opinion chair, the ayes have it, and he is confirmed. Y'all got to be more enthusiastic about your voting. All right. Seth will also be added to the roll and now has full speaking rights and can vote. All right. Moving to Resolution 1819-005, resolution to recognize AU Dining's TDR Exam Stress Busters Initiative. Will the sponsor like to speak on the resolution?
Yes, briefly. So first, we should recognize AU Dining for hosting what I believe is the first ever TDR Exam Stress Busters. It's never been done before. Free food and TDR from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I believe that it's very important to recognize and thank AU Dining, all the way from, Mr. Kudravitz and Dr. All who worked together on this initiative and came up with it, to the workers, to the people who actually executed this event in December of 2018. So in the resolution, I emailed on February 7th of this year. I emailed Dr. All and Mr. Charles Smith about, how did the TDR Exam Stress Busters initiative come to fruition. And also I spoke to Mr. Kudravitz on February 21st of this year when the student budget was hosted by the CFO, Doug Kudravitz, and also Dean of Academic Affairs, Mary Clark, because I think that this initiative really helped the student body to restore its confidence in the administration when it comes to AU really caring about its students. And I asked Mr. Kudravitz at that student budget roundtable in February of this year, I asked him if he will be, if AU Dining will be doing this again. And he asked the room if the students would like this to happen again. It was a resounding yes. And I will be following up with the respective administrators who were involved in the TDR Stress Busters initiative and to follow up to see if they're doing it again for, final exams in May. And also how can we improve upon the first TDR Exam Stress Busters, because I know that students were really concerned about, are we overworking the workers who were there from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So it's also, a balancing act of we care for our students, but we also should keep the workers who actually, make this TDR Exam Stress Busters happen. We have to care about both the students and the workers. So I look forward to the undergraduate student message.
Questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we'll move right to discussion. Discussion on this resolution. Jacob?
Yeah, when Curtis brought this up in our committee meeting, I thought it was a great idea. I know there are concerns about the workers, and I think that that's definitely something we need to think about and work with the university on. I also think this was a great idea that they did last semester. I know tons of people who just they loaded up on a bunch of free food, because you don't have to use a meal swipe or anything, right? It's a great idea, and I think in us passing this resolution, it's an endorsement of that kind of policy, and showing that we would like this to continue. So that's probably why I'm a co-sponsor and why I strongly urge us to pass this resolution.
Other points of discussion on this resolution? Wayne?
Yeah, just echoing that sentiment, I think overall that program was really successful. And for someone who ran out of meal swipes during the end of the semester during this time, I know for me, I really did like having that option late at night, especially after one day. And I think this always shows our, connection with dining, trying to keep our connections well aligned with what they're trying to advocate for, but what we also advocate
Further discussion? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution 18-19-005, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Opinion share the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Moving to Bill 18-19-005, a bill to amend the bylaws regarding the judicial board. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Yeah, so this is the compromise that we talked about earlier. I can send to all of the new senators right now, if you would like show it on my computer, or Trevor, you can put it up right there. It just literally takes out the word that was problematic about any decisions or, so it's just sanctions. So all of this is really literally doing is just making it say what the bylaws currently say right now, because the new bylaws that we passed have not taken effect yet. So this just changes it to be what it is currently right now. It will stay the same. If anybody has any other questions, great. This is pretty self-explanatory and straightforward.
Questions? Kate?
So just for clarification, is there a reason why decision was added in the first place, or like what was the reason?
So I know last week, Bobby talked a lot about sort of why that was added in, and he spoke really at length about it. I'm not going to do that today because I'm not familiar with all the historical stuff. I just know that in the past there have been historical issues with maybe like some shady things going on. That would be a good idea to put in, but I was not on the bylaws commission, so I can't speak to why that was discussed. I would imagine it was probably the reason that Bobby talked about, but all this is doing is just changing the wording back to what it originally was.
Other questions? Seeing none, without objection, this will be referred to CRP.
Mr. Speaker, I would
Yes.
like to waive first reading. Make a motion.
Okay, there's a motion to waive first reading. I hear a second. Discussion on waiving first reading. Jacob?
As we said earlier today, the compromise could happen today. It's going to happen today. So we're just going to get this done today. I don't see any reason why we can't wait. Think about it. We should just pass this today, get it done. There's really nothing else to do. It makes the bylaws exactly how they are right now.
Further discussion on waiving first reading? Seeing none, all those in favor of waiving first reading say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Share the ayes have it. First reading is waived. Moving to second reading, would you like to speak on the bill?
No.
Okay, any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, without objection, we'll move to vote on Bill 18-19-005. All those in favor of adopting Bill 18-19-005 say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Opinion share the ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Any further new business for the Senate? Seeing none, seeing no old business, we'll move to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, moving to good of the order. Any executives for the good of the order? Move on.
So I won't be here next weekend. I'll be with President Bill speaking both back in my home city of New York and also Boston. So I won't be here for the Senate meeting, nor will Giselle be here. She'll also be at a conference. So just wanted to let the Senate know that we both won't be here. Updates at least for Giselle's cabinet. She'll be sitting on the back allocation meetings with President Fernandez and also Jacob, who's now the chair of the Finance Committee. So you'll probably be getting like a few updates from her just on how that conversation will be going. And then as of right now, we haven't really had much clubs come and ask us for money specifically. A lot of it has just been fundraising, like some student government initiatives, like, Sundays and scholarships. We have to give some money for that. But we're probably going to be waiting. Like it's still early in the semester, so we're probably waiting for a few more clubs to come and ask us for money for like, spring events that we might be having abroad and whatnot. And then as my VP elect role, excited to be working with you guys again for the next few months and whatnot. And if you guys decide to run for re-election next November, excited to work with you guys for another year.
Any executives, seeing no other executives, moving to Senate for the good of the order? Any senators for the good of the order, Parker?
I probably should do some presentation. So thanks to Trevor and Valentina, I was appointed to the request for proposal committee on the administration. So what basically that means is, so if any of y'all care about dining, I think everyone here cares about dining. It is we are writing what we want a bidder that is hypothetically going to replace Aramark next year to do better than Aramark. And so I'm the student government representative on that. And on Wednesday, we're meeting for the second time, and we're gonna hash out all these different details and stuff, actually just like state what we want from a future vendor. So if any of y'all have any concerns or want to work with me on this, I'd love to have support and help on that. So particularly issues of, obviously the issues of like dining access and like choice and quality, those are obvious, and I'll work on that. But other issues that like aren't particularly obvious with regards to dining, and particularly like minority groups of students and issues like that. I know issues like related to commuters is something that Anne Marie particularly told me that we should focus on, as well as workers' rights, because with the new vendor that comes with a lot of issues. I'm not allowed to say certain things with regards to workers or really anything with regards to the contract, but I can tell you that there will be concerns with regards to the how workers are going to be treated when the new vendor comes in and how that process takes place. So I think I'd love to have the Senate back me when it comes to advocating for these issues. So.
Jacob?
Yeah, I would love to see the presentations. Yeah, that sounds like fantastic. But first of all, congratulations on that, and looking forward to hearing more about the work that you're doing on that. I wanted to recognize somebody here who I think works really hard. Is not actually a part of this body, but I want to say thank you to Dan for covering the elections fairly and doing always a really great job. It's often a real thankless job that takes a lot of time, and I think he deserves a round of applause for doing a great job informing the students.
Other senators for the good of the order? Yeah. Ryan, yeah.
Again, if any of you have questions about or concerns about my inspector candidate, my roommate, please come talk to me, because if I don't get a lot of concerns, I'm gonna go ahead and appoint him. Anything else I talked about, please let me know. I hate to keep doing this, but I read the bylaws and all the governing documents regularly because I don't really have a life. And I found in the new bylaws that the vote to grant speaking rights is majority, but the rules of debate decorum is 2/3. So bylaws takes precedent over that. Just want to put that out there. Not recommending anything. Just bring it to your attention. I think that's it.
Curtis?
Thank you to partner for giving us an update on the return for proposal that's going on with a potential replacement vendor for food services at American University. I'd also like to note out that, it's really been silent about dining. Like, things have been silent about the 2019-2020 meal plan rates that were recently posted on American University's website. So the meal plan requirements have not changed, but the meal plan options have, and I'd love for the Eagle or someone to spread awareness about the meal plan rates, the meal plan options that are changing, because the rates have stayed the same, the requirements have stayed the same, but now your options will include all access, 5 meal exchanges per week, which is equivalent pricing to the 250 meal block plan that no longer exists. And then there's going to be the 175 block plan with 400 Eagle bucks, the 100 block plan with 400 Eagle bucks, the 50 block plan with 100 Eagle bucks, and there's going to be, as the 5th option, only for, I suppose, commuter and off-campus students, 800 Eagle bucks, 800 Eagle bucks. So the meal plan options have changed, the rates have not changed, the rates have stayed the same, and the requirements have stayed the same. So thank you to this body for really, getting the conversation started. when it comes to keeping the mealtime requirements the same. And I'd also would like to thank this body for passing the resolution to recognize AU Dining for its 2-year exam stress busters. And I look forward to AU Dining continuing that initiative for the semester and future years at AU.
Other senators? Terry?
So right now, I'm committee on filming the second season of Student Voice AU. So if you have any friends that have a strong opinion about AU, maybe positive, negative, or just general feedback, please just like message me because right now I'm just searching for students. And just want to hear their opinions and get on the Instagram. Yeah.
Other senators should go the order. Parker?
I just want to congratulate Terry on American University official Instagram page to follow.
Nice. Other senators? All right. Be sure to sign in for office hours this week. Let me know if you need anything. I will get the bylaws up and running sometime this week. But you all should have what that wording is. And for new senators, I will be reaching out to you to get more information, to get everything set up for you all, and do some initial training. So besides that, I think we are all set. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good week, and we are adjourned.